Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is Selena from Wholeness Campaign, and today I want to talk with you about the gut microbiome during pregnancy, how it all works and how it can seed the gut microbiome of your future baby, and how genetics kind of plays a little bit of a factor in that. Now, a lot of people will say that most of disease is genetic, and I think that word genetic just gets thrown around for any kind of disease or sickness or whatever kind of problem you have. You know, I had joint pain and people were calling it genetic. I think with that term, a lot of things have fallen under that category of just genetic, and nobody really understands what they mean by genetic or why certain siblings might inherit certain things and why others would not. And that can all get really confusing. So I want to share a little bit as somebody who's pregnant, expecting my first baby, what I've learned from the GAPS diet and the GAPS books that Dr. Natasha talks about the importance of having a healthy microbiome before pregnancy and during pregnancy in order to have a healthy baby. Now, unfortunately, in our culture, most people have some kind of damage to their gut. And so that damage, oftentimes, if you're not intentional about it, gets passed down to your baby. And then we wonder why babies have different kinds of sicknesses or, different rashes and things like that. And ultimately, what we believe here, when we talk about GAPS a lot of the time, is that all of these issues really originate in your gut and in your microbiome. And that microbiome was passed down from your parents. So whether it's a toxic microbiome, an imbalanced microbiome, one that has way more pathogenic bacteria that's overgrowing, or whether it's one that has really thriving beneficial bacteria, either one of them will get passed down to your baby. Now, how does this happen? Dr. Natasha talks about this in her book, but basically throughout pregnancy, the baby is receiving microbes. Now, in the amniotic sac, there is this substance called vernix that the baby is essentially swallowing all throughout later times in pregnancy. Now, that vernix comes from your body. Your body makes it. And if it's a unhealthy microbiome, then that's what the baby will be swallowing. That's what's going to be seeding their digestive system. And if it's a healthy one, then that's going to be what's going to promote their health and optimal immune system. Because as we know, and as I've talked about here, your gut is the center of your immune system, and it really controls so much, especially for a developing baby. Now, literally, babies are swallowing mouthfuls of this bacteria all throughout pregnancy, but especially during birth. Something to note is that your vaginal canal, so the vaginal canal that the baby comes through if it's a natural birth, is also going to seed their digestive systems. I mean, people know that there's a connection between your gut and your vaginal canal and all of that, because oftentimes when you take antibiotics, you can end up with a yeast infection. Yeast overgrows when you take antibiotics, oftentimes because you've taken out a lot of the beneficial bacteria. The same kind of concept works here, where when the baby is coming through, it's basically being coated in whatever is down there, which is a reflection of what is in your gut, and all throughout your digestive system and throughout your body, really. And what ends up coating the baby is that vernix from that amniotic sac, and that you've been producing this throughout your whole pregnancy, but also the vaginal flora. And so babies actually will end up absorbing through their skin that microbiome of the mother, and that actually becomes the foundation for their digestive system and their gut flora. So that is why, after a lot of research, they now know that you should not wash a baby in water, and chemical laden water most of the times, right after birth. That you should actually let that baby absorb the vernix, that outer layer, that microbiome that has been seeded from the mother's vaginal canal, that you should let that baby absorb it through their skin, because that's going to be super important for the development of their immune system. Not only that, but there's a lot of other things that kind of coating does. It can actually prevent against sickness in the early days of life for that baby. And so it's super important. And that is actually why Dr. Natasha will recommend putting kefir, which is fermented milk with kefir grains, actually in that vaginal opening before giving birth for moms. And so that baby is being supported in one of the best possible ways with the kind of probiotic drink that has literally over 61 different strains of beneficial bacteria. This can also apparently prevent against group B strep infection and all sorts of things like that. But something else that's important to know is that it's not just the mother that has an effect on the baby, but it's also the father. And especially if you are having sex throughout your pregnancy, or if you've had sex before, which obviously you have, if it's not with a condom, you are receiving some level of the father's flora through semen into your vaginal canal, which actually basically means that the father and the mother play just as much of a role when it comes to seeding the baby's digestive system, not just through the genetics, through the sperm itself, but actually through the microbiome of that vaginal canal where the baby comes through right at birth. I know this is a little squeamish, so I hope you guys are kind of hanging in there with me, but this is why it is super important for anyone who is expecting or anyone who is also looking to have babies in the future, that they are paying attention to the state of their gut flora right now. That means drinking fermented brines, that means eating fermented foods, and having good amounts of kefir in your diet, having some kind of probiotic. If you're not doing any of that food-based stuff, at least having some kind of probiotic in your diet, even if it's a pill. But those fermented brines, those fermented foods are really going to be like the best bet, and especially in pregnancy, doing what you can tolerate, because I know those things can cause kind of like a die-off reaction at times. So you're trying to just not go overboard, but do as much as you can handle, or you can handle. And ideally, you've gotten to the point before pregnancy where you can tolerate a good amount of these fermented foods. You're able to kind of keep your microbiome healthy all throughout pregnancy, and then thus helping your baby to be healthy. This is kind of a little bit of a just countercultural way of viewing nutrition and health during pregnancy and before pregnancy, but I think it's really important because nobody really talks about how you actually do have control over the health of your baby, the health of your pregnancy, how you feel in pregnancy, and all of that. And your microbiome really does determine a lot. So I hope this video was helpful. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments below. As always, it is my passion to walk alongside people as they heal and grow. It inspires me and hopefully brings encouragement to you. Thanks for watching.